Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of What's Up in Archaeology. Today I have a new article, and by the way, I hope you like my other hat. This is the Black Cobra. Anyway, let's get back to the article. Apparently ancient oh, but before I start, I'm going to tell you guys again, remind you guys that I love the Denisovans. They are the people that that used to live more or less contemporary with Homo sapiens sapiens and Homo sapiens neanderthalensis up until about 50,000 years ago. I've mentioned many articles on them, and I talk a lot about them. But this article that I'm talking about today, apparently we have found a skull of the elusive Denisovans, and we are going to read it. You guys know, just a reminder, about 2010 more or less. I'll read the article. I think it'll be much easier. I'll read much easier. I think I'm getting through. I don't know, because yeah, I'm getting through. You guys are not screaming, "Where's the pictures?" And there goes half of the people that I thought I would capture today. Never mind. Let's get to the science. Since their discovery in 2010, the extinct humans, I won't even say ice age, because we are still in an ice age. We are in a interstadial period. That means that we are between cold maximums. We are in a warm phase that happens every time between cold phases. The last glacial maximum, when the temperature was at its lowest, ended around 12,000 years ago. I'll take my hat off because it's too hot in here, and you guys can see my bald patch. But never mind. Enjoy. We are not in. They were not ice age. Technically, they were not ice age humans, as we are also ice age humans. When all the ice of the earth melts, then we will have ended the ice age. But until that happens, we are in a warm period between glacial maximums. So let's get back to the article. They were called the Denisovans after the Denisova cave in the Altai Mountains, and were known from bits of DNA taken from a sliver of bone, which is this bone in the pinky, one of the small fingers of the hand, and a tooth. But now, two partial skulls from eastern China have emerged as prime candidates for showing what these shadowy people may have looked like. Shadowy, I don't like those terms. But anyway, the blue link, which you can see here, is a link to the actual study, but it's behind a paywall. I have included in the description. I can't show that. Morally, I can't show the full article, but that's another question. The paper was published this week in Science, where a Chinese-US team presented a 105,000 to 125,000 year old fossils they called archaic Homo. They noted that the bones could be the new type of human or an eastern variant of Neanderthals, because they are so far east in the Neanderthal range. That's a possibility. Absolutely. That is not to be dismissed. But although the team avoids the word, everyone else would wonder whether these might be Denisovans, which are close cousins to the Neanderthals and us. paleoanthropologist Chris Stringer. I follow him from the National History Museum of London. Everyone should, if you want to learn some things about exciting archaeological finds. Follow him on Twitter. He has a lot of interesting articles that he posts, etc. So the new skulls definitely fit what you'd expect from Denisovan, adds paleoanthropologist Maria Martinon Torres from the University College of London. Something that the Asian flavour, but closely related to Neanderthals. So because the investigators have not extracted DNA from the skulls, this possibility remains speculation. That's where I was going to come up, and that's why I was going to sort of stop here. Her statement definitely fit what you'd expect from a Denisovan is a bit of a misleading statement. We don't know what Denisovans look like. We only have a little finger, a bone in this part here, right? That's it, and a molar. That's the physical evidence of Denisovans we have. There's another molar as well. I'm sorry, I have to correct myself. I think there are 2 teeth and the little pinky. So it is not a lot of material. So her saying it would fit what Denisovans, what you'd expect from Denisovans, is a bit stretching it. And we haven't extracted DNA from these skulls yet. The time period is correct. The location, I'll accept personally my opinion, and I will take full responsibility for my opinion, no one else's. But the possibility remains a speculation. That is an understatement. Of course, it's speculation. We don't know until we extract DNA from these skulls, which you can see here. That's the reconstruction and so on. That's the mirror image. The fossil fragments yellow were put together using a mirror image piece purple. So the purple one's missing. The yellow ones is what we have. And to visualize the archaic human who lived in eastern China. That is a little bit way beyond the range of home range, or whatever you want to call it, Neanderthals. It will be very, very far. And they fit this anatomically very similar to Neanderthals, apparently. From what I see here, you can see the brow ridges, and the size of the skull. We'll read. I won't get ahead of myself. So back in December 2007, archaeologist Zhang Yang of the Institute of Vertebrate Paleontology and Paleoanthropology in Beijing was wrapping up his field session in the town of Lingjing, near the city of Chuchang in the Henan province of China, about 4,000 kilometers from the Denisovan cave. 4,000 kilometers can be close, can be far. So it's about from here to Moscow. Yeah, about from here to Moscow, from Portugal to Moscow. Yeah, or from Portugal to northern Sweden, Lapland. I think that would be 4,000 kilometers. Or another, I know this is definitely a correct scale, from Sydney to Perth in Australia. So there we have it. You guys get a map and get Australia and put it in the Australian the scale where Denisova Cave is, 4,000 kilometers east. That's where these fossils were found. When he spotted some beautiful quartz tools eroding out of the sediments, he extracted a field session of 2 more days to extract them, because the the time is well spent. Archaeology is a very, very meticulous field. You can't just pick it up. First, if it's in situ, you must remove as close to the sample as possible the dirt that's covering it, because that'll be dated, and you cannot contaminate it as you can't contaminate it. So you get most reliable dates from the area. You can't date the actual stone. You can, but that would be, you can use, but it's more readily available to, it's easier to date the surroundings, whereas you can also date the actual stone. But if it's 70, well, let me have a drink, because I'm not thinking straight. Let's start again. Wish I could edit this part out, but anyway. I hope you didn't see that. Never mind. Before you extract any archaeological material, you must photograph it. You must place it in a space, a three-dimensional space. So if it's in a layer, if it's protruding out of a layer, you must measure it from the top to the bottom of that layer, of that the whole wall that you've excavated. So you get a space in height from the bottom parts of where you are excavating to the top of the surface layer. Depending on how the trench, if you dig a trench, how wide it is, you also get the width of that trench. So you put it in that space. There are techniques to make the width as well, but the two-dimensional is okay. Now you extract the dirt around it as much as uncontaminated as possible. Then you can extract the actual piece, fossil, whatever, after you photograph it, draw it, plot it in a grid, which I just explained how you get the grid, the height and width and even the length, and then you can extract it, and you give it a number. The number corresponds with the site, the trench, the layer, and the position in that layer. You have to see the three-dimensional positioning, and you can summarize that in code. For example, Altamira AL, trench 1 T1, layer X, layer 3, for example, position the coordinates 5.1, something like that. That's how you mark an artifact. That is the basics. I'm just giving examples, but that is the basics. It's easy to do. It's not complex. And then you note it on a register. You have to register it with all the details. Layer X, next to Y, next to whatever this part. Photograph X, tool. It takes a hell of a lot of recording of data. That's why archaeology, apart from being a big, even though it's a humanities subject, uses the scientific method completely. So let's go back to the article. So on the very last morning, his team discovered a yellow piece of rounded skull cap protruding from the muddy floor of the pit in the same layer where he found the stone tools, so they would be associated. The team went back for another 6 sessions and managed to find 45 more fossils that fit together into two partial crania. The skulls lacked the faces and the jaws, but they included more undistorted pieces of the team. But they included enough undistorted pieces for the team to note a close resemblance to Neanderthals. The shape of the forehead sloping back, the round part of the skull, the occipital orbs around the brow ridges around the eyes. They call occipital occipital orbs, etc. So they were at that. What they found was very close to Neanderthal, looking like. One cranium, excuse me, one cranium had a volume of 1,800 cubic centimeters. The average modern Homo sapiens has 1,700 cubic centimeters. Neanderthals have been found with 1,900 cubic centimeters, so they are within the range of Homo sapiens sapiens and Homo sapiens neanderthalensis in the upper scale. That 1,900 was an exception, by the way. They range 1,800, 1,770, about the same to slightly more than ours. Now average. This is average. They have also been measured modern Homo sapiens sapiens with that amount of brain capacity. Just saying. So it's on the upper end of both Neanderthals and moderns. Us. Plus, the Neanderthal like hollow in the bone of the back of the skull. So let's see the picture again. And it's this part here. If you guys can see the just below here. You can't really see it because they're showing a top down photograph, but it's below this area around here where there's a small depression. Right, both crania have prominent brow ridges, yes, and inner ear bones that resemble those of Neanderthal, but are distinct from our own species. I have to read this again. They have inner ear bones that resemble those of Neanderthals, but are distinct from our own species, Homo sapiens sapiens. Okay. Of course they are distinct from our species because they are not our species. They are They could be Homo sapiens neanderthalensis. Right. Enough of that. I always find these little annoying descriptions in journals, in a newspaper. This is a newspaper, even though it's a scientific newspaper. They lack. Even I make a lot of mistakes when I write, but this to me still is unacceptable. But that's just me. Anyway, however, the crania also differed from Western Neanderthals of Europe and the Middle East. Local variation, possibly. Till we get the DNA, we won't know. So at the moment, I'll still say that they are very, very, very Eastern Neanderthals. And you can see the map below in this picture. They have thinner brow ridges and less robust skull bones, similar to modern humans and some other Asian fossils. They are not Neanderthal in the full sense, says co-author Eric Trinkhaus, a paleoanthropologist from the Washington University in St. Louis in Missouri. He has seen them. Yeah, I accept his this description. God damn it, sometimes I forget my words. But anyway, I accept his judgment of what he saw. But again, I still want to see the DNA results. So, nor are the new fossils late occurring representatives of other archaic humans such as Homo erectus or Homo heidelbergensis. Homo erectus were the first. I've talked about them in another stream I did at the start, one of my first ones, the Running Man, if you guys want to check it out. No, the Marathon Man. And Homo heidelbergensis, I've said in many of my streams that that he most likely is Homo sapiens sapiens, Homo sapiens neanderthalensis, and Homo sapiens denisovans direct ancestor, also known as antecessor, Homo antecessor. So, as it says here, they were ancestral to Neanderthals and modern humans. The skulls are too lightly built and their brains are too big, according to the paper. Okay. I can't see the rest of the paper, so I will see the rest of the paper. I will read the paper, the actual article, scientific paper that they've written. But till then, I'll take this article's description as accurate. The skulls do share traits with some other fossils in East Asia dating from 600,000 to 100,000 years ago. Again, antecessor human, Homo antecessor. Heidelbergensis, a variation of him, etc., etc. That also defy easy classification, because this period between Homo erectus and both Homo sapiens sapiens, Homo heidelbergensis, Homo denisovans, and Homo sapiens denisovans, Homo sapiens neanderthalensis is a period where there would have evolution would have been running amok, and there would have been, God, I don't want to say transitional fossils, because we are a all fossils that we find are transitional fossils, all of them. These skulls are transitional fossils. The ones that you dig up today from people that died 50 years ago are transitional fossils if you dig them up again 10,000 years from now. Do you see what I mean? So there would have been a lot of even local variations, local adaptations to the environment where they lived in. That's how evolution works. So I'm not surprised. Rick Potts, the paleoanthropologist Rick Potts from the Smithsonian Institute of National Museum of Natural History in Washington DC. These features include a broad cranial base, where the skull sits on top of the spinal column, and the low flat plateau along the top of the skull. The Lingjing crania also resembles another archaic early human skull that dates 100,000 years ago from Chujiao in China's Weihua Basin, 850 kilometers to the north, according to the co-author Shuji Wu. I really hope if any Chinese viewers are out there, I apologize if I'm absolutely massacring your names, but I am trying. So yes, Wu thinks these fossils and the new skulls are a kind of unknown or new archaic human that survived in the East Asia 200,000 years ago. Yeah, possibility. I can't rule that out. Yes, till we definitely settle it. It's a fact. It's a data. It's data. It's a fact. They're just enough differently enough that we can't say that they are not a new line or a new group. That's how science works. Anyway, based on the similarity with some other Asian fossils, she and her colleagues think the new crania represent the regional members of a population in East Asia, who passed local traits down through the generations in what the researchers call regional continuity. That occurs everywhere on Earth. That would have been occurring everywhere on Earth before humans, Homo sapiens sapiens, had a small bottleneck around 70,000 years ago, just before we had our last great explosion out of Africa into the world. There was a genetic bottleneck because we were so close. We apparently we got down to only about 4,000 to 5,000 individuals.